Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most perplexing missing person cases in recent American history. In the heart of small-town Massachusetts, a girl with a bright smile and a determined spirit grew up surrounded by dreams, expectations, and secrets. Her name was Maura Murray. On February 9th, 2004, she vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of questions, confusion, and heartbreak. Maura Murray was born on May 4th, 1982, in Hanson, Massachusetts. The fourth of 5 children, she grew up in a close-knit Irish Catholic family with a strong sense of discipline, love, and structure. Her father, Fred Murray, worked hard and played a hands-on role in his children's lives. Her mother, Lori, was equally involved in nurturing and often described as fiercely protective of her kids. From a young age, Maura was bright and ambitious. Those who knew her best say she had fire in her eyes and steel in her spine. She wasn't just a good student. She was exceptional. In high school, Maura excelled in math and science, and teachers often noted her attention to detail and her natural curiosity. But Maura wasn't just academically gifted. She was also a star athlete. She ran cross-country and track, often dominating at local meets. She was fast, strong, and focused, competitive, determined, relentless. That drive took her to the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point. In 2000, Maura entered West Point, an institution known for rigor, prestige, and pressure. At first, she thrived. Surrounded by structure and challenge, Maura appeared on the path to a stellar future. But something changed during her time there. In her second year, Maura was caught stealing makeup from a commissary store. It was a strange, petty theft that didn't match her character or intelligence. The incident, while minor, was serious in West Point's eyes. She faced disciplinary action and left the academy. Family and friends later said the incident marked a shift in her demeanor, subtle but real. She was quieter and more withdrawn. She didn't talk much about what happened. She simply transferred to University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing. At Amherst, Maura seemed to settle into a new rhythm. She worked part-time as a security monitor at Melville Hall, a job that required long, quiet overnight shifts, giving her plenty of time to study. She had a boyfriend, Billy Roche, who was stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and the two exchanged frequent emails and phone calls. But despite the surface calm, cracks were forming behind the scenes. There were reports that Maura had crashed her father's car just days before she disappeared, after a night of drinking. She had also been caught using a stolen credit card to order food from several restaurants, an incident that was quietly handled but concerning. People close to her noted that Maura had begun showing signs of stress. She was tired and distracted. Some friends believed she was overwhelmed with school, work, and personal issues. Others thought it was something deeper, something she wasn't sharing. Fred Murray was always a central figure in Maura's life. After her parents divorced, Maura remained especially close to her father. He was supportive, loyal, and deeply invested in her success. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Maura spent time with Fred. On Saturday, February 7th, they went car shopping, and Fred let her borrow his new Toyota Corolla that evening. That night, Maura crashed the car into a guardrail while driving back to campus. No charges were filed, but the incident left Fred concerned and confused. Still, by all accounts, the family dynamic was loving. So, who was Maura Murray? On the surface, she was a promising young woman, disciplined, intelligent, competitive. But beneath that image was someone struggling. What exactly is still unclear. Was she buckling under pressure? Was she hiding something? Was she planning to escape? Some friends said she was overwhelmed but functioning. Others believed she was deeply unhappy and possibly depressed. Her actions, stealing, lie about a family emergency, packing up personal items, suggest someone in crisis. And yet, nothing was definitive. No suicide notes. No clear statements of intent. Just a trail of contradictions. On the night of Thursday, February 5th, Maura Murray was working the overnight security shift at her dorm building, Melville Hall. Sometime during the early morning hours, Maura received a phone call that would change everything. She answered the phone around 1 a.m., and after hanging up, she reportedly broke down in tears. Her supervisor, Karen, found Maura sobbing uncontrollably. When asked what was wrong, Maura could only say, "My sister." But here's the twist. Maura's sister, Kathleen, later stated she had called Maura earlier that evening and had spoken about her struggles with alcoholism and a fight with her fiancé. It was an emotional conversation, but not unusual. So why did Maura unravel so dramatically? Was it guilt? Exhaustion? Or was there something in that phone call we still don't understand? She was escorted back to her dorm. Her supervisor made note of her condition, but nothing came of it. Maura slept. The next day, she carried on quiet, subdued, but functioning. Sometime over the weekend, Maura used her computer to search for directions to areas in Burlington, Vermont, and the White Mountains of New Hampshire. She also looked up lodging options. Cabins, motels, remote locations. Why Burlington? Why the mountains? Why the secrecy? Some believe Maura was planning a getaway, just a short solo trip to clear her head. Others think she was meeting someone. But no one, not even her closest friends or family, knew what she was planning. It was as if she was constructing an escape, one step at a time. On Monday, February 9th, just hours before she vanished, Maura contacted her professors and told them she'd be gone for a week due to a death in the family. There was no death, no funeral, no loss. It was a lie. But why? What did she need a week for? And what was so urgent that she had to fabricate something so extreme? It raises a chilling question. Was Maura preparing to disappear? Later that day, Maura withdrew $280 from her bank account, nearly everything she had. Then she stopped at a liquor store and purchased alcohol, including Bailey's vodka and wine. She also visited the registry of motor vehicles, possibly to pick up accident forms from her weekend crash. Then she returned to her dorm, packed a small bag of personal items, removed all the photos from the walls, and placed them neatly in a box. Among her belongings was a printed email to her boyfriend Billy Roche, indicating relationship troubles. There was no suicide note, but there was a feeling of finality. She packed textbooks for classes she said she wouldn't attend. She even contacted a fellow nursing student to say she wouldn't be in class that week. Everything was deliberate, calculated, like someone checking off a list. Around 4:30 p.m., Maura got into her black Saturn and began driving north. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. She turned off her phone. No GPS. No digital trail. Security footage from an ATM shows Maura alone, withdrawing the last of her funds. She was dressed in jeans and a dark coat. Her expression was calm. No panic. No hesitation. Somewhere along the route, she printed MapQuest directions to a condo in Bartlett, New Hampshire, a place her family had vacationed before. Was she heading there? What we do know is this. By nightfall, Maura was deep in the White Mountains, driving toward a destiny no one could stop. Around 7:27 p.m., Maura's car veered off Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire. A witness saw the car nose into a snowbank. When approached, Maura declined help and said she had already called someone, but there was no cell service there. And then someone had no record of a call. By the time police arrived at 7:46 p.m., Sergeant Cecil Smith of the Haverhill Police Department arrived on the scene. The black Saturn was still there. The driver's side door was locked. The front windshield was cracked, the airbags deployed, and a soda bottle containing red liquid, possibly wine, was found in the car. But Maura was gone. No footprints. No blood. No dropped belongings. No sign of a woman who had just been in a crash. It was like she had evaporated into the night. As Sergeant Smith inspected the Saturn, more questions piled up. The car was locked, but the keys were missing. Her phone was gone. Her debit and credit cards were missing. Her backpack, which she had packed earlier, was nowhere to be found. But what was left behind was odd. A box of wine partially spilled across the back seat. Her favorite stuffed animal was placed gently in the back. Classroom papers and directions printed from MapQuest. This didn't look like a frantic escape. It looked peaceful, deliberate, as if she had taken her essentials and left the rest behind on purpose. Some speculate Maura may have tried to avoid police, perhaps fearing trouble due to the earlier car crash. But if she had run into the woods, why didn't anyone find tracks? And why didn't anyone ever find her? Police didn't initially treat Maura's disappearance as an emergency. After all, it wasn't unheard of for a young adult to leave voluntarily. A be on the lookout was issued and the car was towed. But there was no wide-scale search. Not yet. The next day, when Maura's father, Fred Murray, found out his daughter was missing, he drove up immediately and began searching on his own. He knew his daughter. He knew this wasn't just some impulsive runaway story. Soon, local law enforcement, New Hampshire State Police, and Fish and Game began organizing more coordinated search efforts. But by then, 24 hours had passed, and in cases like this, time is everything. A few days later, cadaver dogs and tracking teams were brought in. One of the dogs picked up Maura's scent, leading from the car 100 feet up the road, and then it vanished. That was the only trace. The trail ended as if Maura had gotten into another vehicle, but no tire tracks were visible. No other car had been reported. Nothing was on surveillance because this area had no cameras. Just 100 feet and then silence. If someone picked her up, who was it? A passerby? Someone she had planned to meet? Or something much darker? In the days following Maura's disappearance, the Murray family began distributing flyers, talking to the media, and begging for national attention. Fred Murray criticized law enforcement for not treating the case with the seriousness it deserved. He believed from the start that his daughter was taken. Meanwhile, Maura's boyfriend, Billy Roche, flew in from Oklahoma where he was stationed in the Army. He joined the search, left messages on Maura's phone, and tried to retrace her steps. Nothing turned up. Not a shoe, not a jacket, not a trace. It was as though the forest had swallowed her. Back in Amherst, Maura's phone records showed one outgoing call that puzzled investigators. A number associated with a lodging service in Stowe, Vermont, was contacted on February 9th, the day she disappeared. Stowe was about 2 hours northwest of the crash site. Why would Maura be contacting motels in Vermont if she ended up in New Hampshire? Investigators found printed MapQuest directions in her car, one to Burlington, Vermont. It suggested she may have been headed to the area. But if that's true, how did she end up in Haverhill? Did she change her destination? Take a wrong turn? Or was she meeting someone halfway? To this day, no reservation under Maura's name has been confirmed. Adding further confusion, authorities found a rag stuffed into the tailpipe of Maura's Saturn. Fred Murray, a seasoned mechanic, later said this was a trick he had once used to reduce smoke from a failing exhaust. He speculated Maura might have done the same if her car was struggling and drawing unwanted attention, but others had darker interpretations. Was it someone trying to disable her vehicle? Was she being followed? Or was it just a quirk of her trying to stay unnoticed? There was also a troubling email, discovered from earlier that week, written to Maura's boyfriend. In it, she apologized for problems in their relationship. It seemed heartfelt, maybe even like a goodbye. But again, there was no clear explanation. Just hints, just fragments. One of the most frustrating aspects of Maura's case, especially for her family, was the jurisdictional confusion and what they saw as inaction in the early days. The Woodsville Police Department handled the initial crash report. The New Hampshire State Police oversaw missing persons. The FBI didn't get involved right away. Each agency had different protocols, different levels of access to data, and different priorities. And while Fred Murray was printing flyers, chasing down leads, and talking to locals, police were not treating the area as a crime scene. No house-to-house canvass was immediately conducted. No roadblocks were set up. Surveillance from nearby businesses wasn't reviewed. It was a lost window, and one that haunts the case to this day. Months later, a new piece of the puzzle emerged. A local woman reported seeing a red pickup truck parked along Route 112, near the time of Maura's disappearance. She said it was facing the wrong direction, as if it had pulled over hastily. This truck was never identified. Some theorize Maura got into that truck, voluntarily or not. Others think the driver may have witnessed something and never came forward. The vehicle became the center of online speculation. Was it someone local? Was it someone who knew the area well? Someone who could disappear without leaving a trace? Despite tips, the red truck lead was never confirmed. It became another dead end in a case filled with them that BY 2005, more than a year after Maura vanished. The official investigation was quiet. Press coverage was limited. Leads were cold. But then, something happened that would change everything. A man named Tim Polari, fascinated by the case, launched a dedicated blog tracking every known detail about Maura's disappearance. The blog became a hub for discussion, theories, and alternative timelines. With each video, post, and podcast episode, Maura's case was introduced to thousands of new people. It was no longer just a local mystery. It was now a national obsession. Citizen detectives began combing through every aspect of the timeline. They downloaded satellite maps of Route 112, tracked weather data from that night, and created visual reconstructions of the scene. Some even drove the route themselves, checking turnoffs, distances, and visibility. Digital sleuthing became forensic analysis. They discovered conflicting witness statements, gaps in reported police timelines, possible leads the authorities may have missed or ignored. And it wasn't just theory. In 2006, a web sleuth user found a photo of a red truck, matching the earlier witness report, on a property just off Route 112. They contacted the police. It was investigated, but nothing came of it. Still, the internet army kept going. Maura's father, Fred Murray, became a relentless advocate, not just offline but online, too. He gave interviews to bloggers. He shared photos, police reports, and time-stamped data that the media hadn't seen. He appeared on podcasts and called out the New Hampshire State Police for refusing to release the full investigation file. Fred was at war with what he called a wall of silence. They know more than they're saying, he once told an online host. And the only way I can prove it is to get those files. He filed a Freedom of Information Act request and was denied. That fueled more fire in online circles. Why were the files sealed? What were they hiding? Was Maura's case not just a tragedy, but a cover-up? The more people got involved, the more tips came in. But with that came false leads. One user claimed to have seen Maura in Canada. Another said she was working at a gas station under a new name. Neither lead was substantiated. A man contacted the podcast with a claim that he knew who took her, but was later exposed as a hoaxer seeking attention. The most promising development came in 2018 when cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar picked up a signal beneath the basement of a home near the crash site. This home had long been a subject of online suspicion. A search was finally conducted, but no human remains were found. Once again, the case stalled. Today, the disappearance of Maura Murray remains unsolved. The case still attracts attention from amateur sleuths, podcasts, and documentary makers. Her family continues to search for answers and urge anyone with information to come forward. The case highlights the challenges of missing person investigations and the heartbreak families endure when loved ones vanish without a trace. What do you think happened to Maura Murray? Was she a victim, a runaway, or something else entirely? Let us know your theory in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, please give a like and share it to help keep Maura's story alive. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into mysterious disappearances and unsolved cases. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.